Cavecast, the uncensored show for nerds of all kinds.
As I've gotten older, it's like you do get exposed to much more bullshit in certain ways. And you are a different person on one side and a different person on the other, where it's like, you're like, oh, I don't got to worry about this. Like, I'll leave my door unlocked, this, and this. Or I had a very bad habit of, doing things like that. And after the events of what's occurred this past week and how everything has happened, it's made me rethink how I do everything at home.
Right.
And just the things I want to do. So
same, dude.
Yeah. it's
same. It's
nuts.
Like legit last night, the fact of living a certain way or being lax or whatever. This is not to be funny. I live in a homey, kind of uppity, a little bit like neighborhood and stuff like this now. Mm-hmm. Chandler's bike, because I got it out of the back of my Jeep from when I brought it from your house.
Yeah.
And it was on the front porch when I came over here last night. When I got home, it was like midnight. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, I'll just leave it in the morning. And I was like, no, I brought it in. Even still, it doesn't matter because like you said, that's how it happens where you're like, well, I don't need to worry about it here. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
You need to worry about it everywhere. Yeah. And I think some of the things we're going to talk about tonight, it kind of just proves it, because whether this was paranormal events or somebody knowing where we live / you live or both,
right?
This has been fucking weird the last couple of days.
And I think that to give everybody context, no, because it's not even just what happened, but if anybody is watching this for the first time or hasn't kept up on things and maybe they have just watched Riker, you moved out. It's been 2-3 weeks? I think you've been gone?
It's been close to a month.
Okay, close to a month. Okay. So,
it actually would be a month because we got the keys the 29th of August or whatever.
That's true. Yeah.
So a month.
Yeah. So you've had some consistent time that you have not been here. Now it's you've had coming into the office, that's what we call it, is that, you're coming into work, and doing your thing during the day. And we'll sometimes cross paths, and then other times it's nah, I'm out of here at this time. And we've kind of learned that, kind of flow right as of now, and that could change or stay the same, and it's just kind of okay, for the most part, I have the house to myself,
right.
And it's been a new experience in many different ways. And it's been good in some ways, but also weird in others. And, now recently it's been what the fuck, with how everything's going on.
Sure.
And I think that I want to preface this with, guys, I've never really lived on my own, but I have had many houses to myself, for long stretches of time, I know what it's like to be alone, and I know how to process things whenever certain things happen, or you get spooked, or something happens, or an animal acts weird. It's just because your cat is hissing doesn't mean that it's a demon. It's right. Investigate a little bit, see what's going on with it. And, we've made the joke before that I'm skeptical and you are very skeptical. It's that, the severities of things.
Not that I don't believe it.
Right. We both have had many experiences.
We just had one 20 minutes ago.
Yeah. Oh God. It's just
legit.
Yeah. It's to me, I think that I want to preface it with that because, guys, this isn't willy-nilly. There's been plenty of times that we have had some paranormal activity happen in this house, and we've had times that when Thor was here, that when he would look out on the back deck or out in the front yard, his hackles were up. No, you're not welcome here. Yeah. Like an intruder kind of a thing. So we've had, experiences with both things. And I think that it's really interesting that nothing like this happened. Nothing like this happened the night that you left. Where it's the house is I'm by myself. Things are looking different. You're not here. It's I can't, have the, safety net of, this big noise happened upstairs. Oh, that was one of the cats, or that was Thor, or air dropped something or whatever. It's kind of like when the first time I moved in here, I went from living at an apartment complex, and noises were constant, because people live around you.
Yeah.
And there were a couple of times, maybe it prefaces everything happening now, but a couple of times I would hear some stuff and I would be like, oh my God, Angie or whatever. And I'm like,
yeah,
I'm not even in the same place. Why am I thinking that it's a neighbor? It's that that's not, so-and-so or so-and-so. It's just what the fuck? So Yeah, so like it's like there was kind of like a peaceful, time of, like up until recently when things have just gotten very odd. To get specific on what happened, there's going to be some things I'm going to talk about and some things I'm not going to talk about, only because only for the sake of manifesting. I don't want to give glory to something or to, just also for my personal fear. And then also just in general, just to kind of get the main points across. But I remember I was laying in bed, just, relaxing for the night. It's kind of like that whole, all right, it's time for jammies and, talk time with my girl, kind of a thing where it's like, right. I just want to, just chill for the night. And around 11 o'clock or so, outside of the doors of the room that I'm in on glass, I hear knock, 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 knock. And I looked over and my first thought was, I went, wait, I am medicated, so just because I heard a noise doesn't mean that, there is something.
But that's different. That's not just a noise.
It's not the, I'm listening to music and this frequency sounds weird right now. I think I'm hearing something. This was a physical knock. And I know for a fact it was because Ozzy, my gray cat, he jolted up and looked over like, Dad, what was that? Mm-hmm. And even Crystal on the phone call was like, she's like, I heard that. What was that? So there were some different things that happened that night as far as trying to figure things out paranormal wise, is this happening or this and this? And I shined my light out, couldn't see anything, so it was that type of thing. But what really got me was the following morning, I went out through the garage to go to my car and the garage door was open.
Right. And that
was the very first time that I started to kind of get scared. I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
So let's kind of give them some filler as well, was because when you called me about some of this stuff, you then got to that part of the story about the garage. Mm-hmm. And I literally just was talking about Chandler's bike.
Yeah.
I said to you, I was like, whoa. Hey, man, I took her bike home after leaving from the podcast or whatever it was we were doing that night.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm pretty sure I shut the garage door and you cut me off and you're like, it was closed. I went and checked.
Yeah.
And I all I remember saying to you 3 different times, okay, bud, I left around 7 p.m. Are you sure you went out at 7 p.m. at night? And you were like, yes, I went out to have a cigarette. I was going to do this instead. But I'm like, okay. And that's when you kept telling the story about it being open. It was fucking weird for me. Yeah. Because I went, nah, man, I must have thought I closed it. That's my bad, dude. I didn't, because I was like, I know I closed that motherfucker.
Well, especially too is that because there have been times that I've been out in the garage and I've had my few cigarettes and then it's I go to bed and wake up and I'm like, oh fuck, I forgot to close the garage door.
Correct.
No, it's I did not go out again. So it was that moment of what the fuck?
You had checked to make sure it was closed and didn't go back out and smoke.
Exactly. Something physically had to move this thing. So that was...
And you didn't hear it. That was the other thing that got me. You're going to hear your garage needs oil.
No, I need a whole new fucking garage.
I'm just being in the fact of you hear it.
Yeah.
So that was the other thing that got me was I kept thinking, okay, well, the garage opened, but I'm like, how the fuck didn't he hear it? You're also right next to it because, guys, he's got his bedroom kind of where the garage door is almost in a sense. You're right there, kind of. You're probably the closest in the entire house.
Right.
For you to not hear it is what also tripped me out. And the fact that you for sure looked, I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Somebody knows where we live because you had said some other things. I know you're not trying to manifest things, but that it might be paranormal from the night before.
There was some stuff outside that one day I might talk about, but for right now, because I'm uncertain, I don't want to. Yeah, but there was some more stuff that did happen that was seen. So yeah,
the irony is that all the things you've been talking about so far could be either.
Yeah. Well,
that's what's crazy.
Well, especially because it does get worse.
Yeah.
Because this was the moment that And I don't know if anybody else has had this moment, and if not, you probably one day will. So this to like prepare you is that you have a thought of, well, you know what? Thank God this particular thing didn't happen. And the second you think it happens right in front of your face, and your stomach just drops into your balls, and you're like, what do I do? Like am I in danger? This and this. So to give context was that the morning of the garage incident, I was like, okay, I'm at work. I didn't even talk about it. Like I kept it to myself until I came home, and then the rest of the stuff happened. Because a part of me was like, maybe I forgot, maybe, just maybe. And I pull into the driveway. I see the garage door is shut. I'm like, okay, so far so good.
So we're doing good. Yeah.
So far so good. Everything's how I left it, whatever. And I come in, and when I go up the basement steps, I look up and the basement door is closed. Now, guys, the reason that this is significant is because in the time that Thor was living here, he wasn't allowed in the basement, so we would always keep it closed.
Correct.
Like, throughout the day, like, whatever. And I've been getting myself into the habit of being sure that it's like, nope, like I don't have to close this off. The cats can go back and forth, like whatever.
Roam the house.
And I remember being in my bedroom before the whole garage thing and looking down and being like, Ozzy's here. Okay, yep, he's going to chill down here. He's going to go to sleep, do his deal. Both cats were upstairs and the door was shut. Then my next line of thinking was, okay, well, if Eric did stop over to record something or to edit, he may have shut the basement door, but if he did, the cats would be downstairs. They wouldn't be upstairs.
Correct. Because they scratched to get down. Because that was the moment that like I'm like I've got a problem. I'm like something is happening. There are two physical things that neither of us touched, and it's it's playing with that mentality of that. It's like, okay, so if this is a physical thing, let's say that this was a person that made it into the house. Guys, we do YouTube, we play video games, and this isn't a flex thing, but guys, we have a lot of expensive equipment in this house. 100%, man.
Nothing was missing.
Because that was my first question,
right? Because after you said that, because I kind of glance looked, but then while we were on the call, you were like, nah, dude, even if it's stupid, is there something minor that could have been taken?
I even said something the autograph NF albums or something something that people would think there's hold significant value in our household, something.
Yeah.
And then I started to think about maybe it's just a joke. I was like, did Dane Cook break in here and didn't say, but he just left a lava lamp. But no, but
that thought did cross my mind. I'm like, well, no, what if it's somebody that did break in and leave a dildo somewhere or whatever? I don't know, but yeah. It's just,
but in all seriousness, that was my first thought was, okay, he's not saying anything. The computer, the microphones, the monitors.
I checked all my guitars are here.
All of your guitars, game systems, plural. You know what I mean? Nothing. I was like, well, that's weird. And so that was my other logical thought was, okay, is there anything that somebody would think is significant in this household that they would be looking for or think we have?
Right.
But the fact that there was no rifling of shit.
No, everything everything was exactly how I left it. Yeah.
It was kind of a joke, but I was being serious. Do you remember the scene in Mrs. Doubtfire when he pretends to be the hot dog? And it's I was are you sure that somebody's not in a corner just waiting hiding. Because you're home now on lunch and they weren't expecting. It's that's why I asked. I'm like, did you check the whole house?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it's because going back to that whole thing was, it could be paranormal, it could be a real person, or the irony, maybe it was just both happening at the same time. They both hold a very significant outcome of what it could be. Because if somebody does know where we live and does know how to maybe get in or figure something they're a fucking burglar or whatever, that maybe that's what they did. They shut the fucking door. Who knows? Maybe they're a polite robber. I don't fucking know.
Maybe this would be fucking wonderful if they did. If they came into the house and went, I'm not stealing any of this shit. This is dumb. And then left. It's kind of when Jeff Foxworthy said that his car got broken into and they stole 3 CDs out of 40. He's like, oh, here's the best of Leonard. Where's the best of Ted? It's who knows? But It's just, I mean, that was,
but like,
it was
there's
so
no
weird.
way. There's no way. There is, again, not trying to flex and or put a target on us, but we do have a lot of expensive stuff in here that we acquired over the years. So it's like, it didn't make sense because if that were the case, you would have taken something.
Yeah.
But if it's the other thing, well, then, dude, that's weird because in my thought too, my other thought too, if it's the other thing, that it's almost like Lord Voldemort. We're not saying its name out loud.
Yeah.
But like, it shut a door, dude.
Right.
It is now touching, physically moving things like that.
That was,
I don't like that.
No. And that's the thing is that, when I, like, after everything had like kind of like stopped for the day and Crystal and I were talking and I went through both scenarios and I'm like, my house is fucking haunted.
Isn't it weird that it picked up
just,
after I left?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's now. There's also I have a theory about that is that maybe things were happening all the time, but since Thor was here, we never noticed. Like it's because like with like the fact of him like making noise and doing stuff, because he did like he would walk around or he would plop down or he would do something, but it's like just because we heard a plop doesn't mean that that's when he plopped down. You know, so that I'm not saying that that's the truth, but it's like that part of me has thought about that where it's like maybe this is how it's always been and I just haven't noticed, or it's ramped up. Like, I don't know.
I would say if that's the case, especially with Thor, you would think he would have been way more vocal and active and or on alert, and especially with the cats as well, like all of them. So it's like, I don't know. That's why I was saying I was going to say for the podcast, we were kind of talking out there in the kitchen where I was like, I just realized I'm like, this is weird that it's getting more and it's like happening sooner in between like stints after I've left.
Yeah.
Now, like you said, maybe that's just coincidence, maybe like, blah, blah, blah. But, if that's the case, why?
Well,
why is it just now because you're by yourself and it thinks you're a little more vulnerable? Is it, did I have something that kept something at bay? I don't know. Did I have something worse that it was attached?
Well, what I will say is that when I told Mom about it, because if anybody's like watched you on Twitch, I'm sure they probably have, heard you talk about it maybe at some point, but like the lava rock. That was in the studio.
It's been gone. But I know you had it outside, but you said it's been gone too, even from that.
Literally the day that everything happened, I chucked it into a field. Because it was sitting on like the back like porch area.
Yeah.
And guys, like whether or not you're a believer of the whole crystal like stone theory, like things like that, or like there's different things that affect different things. I don't really look at it in the way that other people do, where it's like, oh, my entire life is based on it. But I do believe that there is energy, and I do believe that there are things that store certain things better, and I think that there are things that can be conduits for whatever reason. I mean, even one of the stories that used to be on my channel was about a window that had something attached to it that was given to me and my ex-wife at that time. So like, it's like. There's like that was one of the more scarier things that's ever happened, because now granted it was a friend of ours that found this beautiful window.
Right.
He refurbished it. It was like a wonderful set piece of like, oh wow, you can hang stuff on it. It's great. And it's like, no, like you bring objects into your home and then that allows whatever was attached to it to then, to disperse and do what it wants.
Yep.
So, getting rid of the lava rock, I was like, look, I'm like, whether or not it's mundane or not, I'm like, we're not using it. It's taking up space outside anyway. And I made the effort of like, when I was on launch that day, I was like, screw it. I'm like, I'm chucking this thing out. And it's weird because there's always been activity in this house of some kind, like stuff made like things I've never noticed. Like, there was a woman that was in the pictures that were listed on the site or whatever of like, like this is the house, go ahead and look at it, and you can see all like what your living room is going to look like. And we had some friends of ours that could see things, and they went, yep, there's a woman standing there. She looks very peaceful. She, she's kind of like looking at the camera, kind of like, what are you going to do with this place? Like, it's like they had like that kind of curiosity, and never once was there a negative thing that happened while she was here. I was, again, like, depending on like, who's telling the truth and who isn't. I personally believe that they were all telling the truth, but they were like, no, she's gone. Like she saw everything she needed to and was like, okay, I'm bouncing. I'm out of here. So like we've had that. There's been another thing that's been a consistent thing that's still here that has been very benign. Like there's nothing, bad happened or anything like that.
Like, my keys.
Yeah, right. So yeah, maybe they're moving keys or shutting doors or whatever. But no, there's always been kind of something, but never to this degree.
Right. And that's why I was saying like it's weird that
So,
it's happening more.
Yeah.
Like I don't get like my thing too is that I always had this also but like legit where it was like, with moving and everything, I always had this thought like, well, like what's Kyle gonna do? And I worry about him being by himself and all this stuff because it does get quiet. Mm-hmm. You don't have a barking dog anymore. You have your fucking quiet little cats and your stereo if you want something on like that. You know what I mean? You have to make the background noise.
Right.
So that stuff does come into play, like paranoia almost, or letting your mind wander. These things are not mind-wandering things. You were occupied, not focused on being afraid or in your thoughts or whatever it is, drunk or something to where like it could have really altered your state here.
No, and it's like I said, is that a couple of different things. Is that one is that I was high when it happened.
Well, right, but that's completely different. Like,
right, but the other thing too is that this is also the weird thing about me because there are people on this planet that can watch horror movies and go to bed. You're one of those people,
Yep.
Excuse me. And it's one of those that, depending on what the movie or the show or YouTube, video is, if it's late, I'll either choose to watch it or not watch it. I will say that the one thing I can't do on a late night TikTok scroll is fucking the dark web videos with like the clown that they rent and things like that.
Yeah.
Dude, I know it's like more than likely all staged. It's very well done.
Correct.
But in the same hand, it's like sometimes I can't do it. I have been in that basement, drunk off my ass, watching an account of a werewolf that was seen in Youngstown, Ohio.
Yeah. I remember that.
And the video is terrifying. Like it's like if you guys have not heard of Matt Emsch, go follow him and watch his story. Like whether or not it's real or not, like it's a fantastic story. Like it's terrifying. But like that's something that like somebody is claiming is true. I'm not watching a directed movie. I'm like it's like I was able to be in the basement by myself while you were gone on a weekend and watch that. And I fell asleep to it.
Right.
So it's like, it doesn't always, like my mind isn't always geared towards that. Like even doing scary stories, I've had some times maybe I've gotten creeped out, but nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that is really like what I'm trying to wrap my head around is that it's like, it's so difficult because it's that mentality of, man, like, I don't know what's happening. That's what's making this worse. And it's because it's the unknown. Like it's because even before we jumped on here where it was like, well, no, with the Ring cameras and everything I set up where it's like, okay, like, is it worse to see a guy looking in your window that you can see out there with like, a crowbar or a machete or something like that? Or is it worse to see, something demonic standing out there or like something?
Yeah,
it's like, well, I don't fucking like either, like, it's like, that's really where my mindset is.
How about
no? Yeah, none. So, but I don't know. It's just, it's been a weird few days and just trying to process everything. And like, usually like when I'm doing stuff and like, I'm just like kind of like going through my night, I'm fine. It's more so that like, it's bothering me when I go to sleep. Like I've really not slept the past couple of nights just because of it. But I mean, I've got stuff to remedy that tonight. I'm going to like, have my indicas and things like that. But it's just, it's just, I don't know.
See, that's another thing too.
Weird,
is not that you're trying to like just be belligerent and pass out or like whatever, but like I almost don't know. Is that worse to like mask it and cover it up to like not pay attention and hear it when something is going on?
Right.
Or you know what I mean? So like it's like almost like which one do you do there? Because same with me where, my nightly routine is, my medicine and stuff like that, but it's also to relax. But, we also do things for fun stuff as well. Yeah. But as far as the whole sleeping thing and keeping your mind busy, I get what you mean, but for me, But for me, being maybe in an environment like that or a situation where like you're almost kind of waiting for it.
Oh yeah, no, I'm completely in waiting right now. Yeah, one way or another. So
now I almost wonder. I would question myself: am I medicated and waiting for it, and now I'm looking for something? Yeah. So it's like, where do I draw this line on paying attention?
Yeah,
and sober, like, and how late it is because like you said, I'll fixate. And then you'll just sit there and keep doing your thing or like playing a game or doing whatever. And then it's 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. And now you haven't slept.
And now you haven't slept.
Yeah.
So then that adds to it. So this is very odd because it's almost like, and it probably would never do anything, but it's almost like I do want to spend the night and see if I hear anything or see if I can, feel anything different because I've had times like not even just here, but like you almost just feel something's off.
It's that, that primalistic instinct of like, no, like my senses are off the charts right now and nothing's wrong. What's happening?
Yeah. And when you had said something the other day about like, hey, can you just like video call me? I was like, well, damn, that's like, I immediately was like, well, what the fuck is going on? Like that we usually just text each other a couple sentences here and there.
Well, Verizon was also down that day.
It was.
Yeah.
But, with this scenario, I almost feel like we're both so vulnerable no matter what, because if this is like a spirit or if this is like a thing, right, it's going to be contained here and it's with you. If it's somebody that knows who we are.
Yeah.
Well, if they know where you live, they know where I live.
Yeah.
And then they know where we both live and all of these things. And it's like my brain has gone into this almost like a detective mode where I'm like, have they cased the place? Do they know what time Kyle takes lunch? What time I do coffee time? Everybody knows what time I do coffee time, what time I get channel, like all this. I'm like, immediately cameras everywhere.
Right.
And, a while back, there was some other things online that were happening. And I had mentioned something to Meg about getting cameras and she made a joke about it, but she was also being serious. She was like, he's paranoid, blah, blah, blah. And then after this, she goes, okay, now I'm with Eric on this. Like, we need cameras. Like, I'm pretty sure we got ADT the other day now.
Right.
Because if it is the flip side of things, this is really scary, man, because if I see somebody on my Ring camera or my Flood camera, like, it's not going to be pretty, but I'm also not going to, like, I'm going to be scared. I don't know who this person is.
Right. And that's the intention of like, or it's wanting to know what their intention is.
Yeah.
Where it's like, are you here because you just have to meet us or are you here because you have ill intent because you're pissed off about something that we said?
Correct.
Or it's like, cause that's the thing that I've wondered where it's like, I have like things I won't share online, but I have suspicions of like you and I have talked about it of like what it possibly could be. And we covered many scenarios of like, well, I'm like, none of this is real as far as we know, but with what we can piece together with what we know, where it's like, damn, like it's like if it is like this person or that person or whatever, it's like is this going to be like the next fucking legal thing that we have to like worry about or whatever? Like, again, not the like the only thing that you've had is like your custody and stuff
but
like that.
Still,
like, Riker Road's not full of legal shit, but it's like, but it's like no, like is this going to be like the next like problem that becomes bigger than us essentially? And that's the thing that I think bothers me the most. Like, I'll deal with paranormal shit however I have to deal with it. It's like that's centralized and I can talk about it, whatever. But when you start involving other human beings that are either off their rocker or are violent or are, like wanting to do anything negative, it's kind of like, man, like, no, no, thank you. No, like get the fuck away from me,
Well, it was actually this morning. I think it was this morning or maybe yesterday morning. Legit, somebody I think is like either new to that found on Coffee Time or even just new to the channel. But they said, have you guys ever encountered like a weird fan or like somebody that was awkward or like kind of intense? And I was like, no. Yeah. But so this has been happening. And it's like, no, we have never really, we've had a few hiccups, I would say. which is to be expected over the last 3 years. I mean, you're not going to get away unscathed, but if all things considered, really no. But the fact that this is kind of happening, like I said, I personally think it's both.
Really?
I think it's both. If I'm being really honest with you, I think it's the first thing, and I think it's maybe somebody that knows who we are. Whether it's a local, or if it's somebody that is just from wherever.
And if you're going to travel that far, or travel even a distance,
you're going to be super disappointed.
I can tell you right now, just go. Like,
But dude, I don't know, man. I wondered when it was going to happen. I still don't know if that's the case, but I wondered when it was going to happen of that, hi guys. Yeah. My mom gave me $1 and dropped me at the parking ride. Wayne's World. Yeah. But it's just that. If Wayne says it's not Wayne, he's not. It will. It just, I never really thought about the fact of maybe possibly somebody finding our home. Maybe knowing where we live. Sure.
Yeah.
But pinpointing the actual driveway, no, man. You might just happen to hang out at the same grocery store all the time to maybe find us then, but you have to just know where. You don't know our address. That's still a little weird. This is now getting weird, and like I said, I think it's both, and because there's been too much evidence of, I think, maybe both things.
Yeah.
Because if it is the first thing and they're shutting doors, well, then that's a way bigger problem than an intruder.
Yeah.
And so my mind goes, somebody was just here.
Well, especially too, is that, I won't disclose what it was, but there was something in the house that I was being very lax with. That I was like, I'm like, this isn't a problem. It's like, this is
I told that to Meg too, because she asked, and I was like, nope, he heard something on Rogan, and ever since then, he's been a fucking stickler.
Yeah. And it's so I know that the fear that it put in me,
same.
It was just that moment of oh my God, no, I know that if it is a physical threat, that basically the ways to be able to even get into the house, they're going to have to try to,
of course.
So it's it's not going to be like it was,
but they will.
And that's the thing, is that it's okay, well, I have created a fortress that is, not able to be, penetrated, but in the same hand is that, no, I've created a fortress that is going to take a little longer to get in. So maybe that's the thing that will help if something does happen, but it's just, I don't know, to me, it's I rest kind of more in comfort of the fact that it is, it's if it is something on the outside and people are trying to get in, whatever, it's well, no, I've done my due diligence. Physical things have been done to keep out the physical. Spiritual is a whole different thing. And it's there's no real way to deter it or to officially get rid of it. You can calm things down, and hopefully if it's something that can be, removed with sage or these different things, sure. But if you have a bigger problem, you need bigger guns.
Well, what you need to do. Well, then this just confirms, what you need to do, right? You need to get knight's armor and a samurai sword. So
have it be blessed by a priest, and
no, just just fucking pure hatred. Fuck a priest. Fuck a priest. This is war. This is now on. This is 10 toes down. I'm standing. I might not be able to move quick in the fucking knight's armor, but I'll get my point across. Whether it's a spirit or fucking 4-toed Jimmy down the street,
well, I have had.
I don't know where that came from.
no, that was actually really good. I have had this thing that I've wanted to live out this fantasy so much, where what I want is a security system, and I've seen them before.
The Alexa thing, yeah.
Well, what it does is that with all of the LEDs in the house, it turns everything red. And Mick Gordon's BFG division starts playing, and I want to come out with a bat with nails through it and go, "You picked the wrong fucking house." You're going to die, something like that. So if nothing else, it'll if you break into a home that you think is silent and then everything goes red, would you run?
Yeah, dude, because
would you run?
It's legit. I almost feel like that's almost a really smart like home invasion thing, because think about what happens. Two things happen immediately for the intruder. Two senses get fucked with. It's loud as shit. So now you're jolted and now you can't see right.
Yeah, because low red light fucking sucks to look at. Yeah,
it does. But even actually, probably no matter what color, but red's just funny because it's dark. But like, I've often thought that's actually kind of genius. Yeah, it's going to wake you up. Of course, you want it to, and even the neighbors. But at the same time, like you said, that robber is expecting it to just be like pitch black and quiet. As soon as those both happen at the exact same time, it's game over, dude. I'm hitting you with the bat.
Yeah, right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like the bat's coming at your fucking grill.
Yeah.
But so all joking aside and going back to the thing is that, thinking it's both, that this is, this is a little scary. That is not the reason I did come over last night, but it also, when I guys, last night I came over and did some Twitch. I watched some Harry Potter and stuff just live and hanging out. But
we gave our condolences to Maggie.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And plus I've been needing to go through them anyways and finish them. Not that I haven't seen them, but just hanging out. But anyways, I even said something to Meg. I was like, I think maybe it'll help calm him down a little bit too. But at the same time, like I said before, I do leave. It's not like I'm going to be here all the time. So it does worry me because of me thinking it's both. Like you said, the first one, there's really not a whole lot we can do essentially on our own. The second one is something that, like, not that I'm a Billy badass by any means, but it's like, if it is the second thing and I'm however many miles away, I'm not here to be the extra muscle or whatever it is when, if something were to go sideways. Yeah. So that is another thing that, like, has really been kind of on my mind the last couple of days, where it's like, well, what if it is the crazy person? Right. Are they just on drugs? Are they going to be easy to fucking fend off? Or is this person going to have weapons? Are they going to be, is it just like you said, some crazy fan that wants a selfie with you? Like, I don't know.
Like, it's like, just approach me at Walmart like everybody else. Right. Like, you don't got to come to my house. Yeah.
But it's just like, that has been the things that I've been thinking about. It's like, now that's why I said with the whole fact of it's weird that it's ramping up after I've left. And it's almost like, they went like, okay, is he gone? Like a month, like it's been a few weeks. Like you can kind of quote case the place and do all these things. And I'm just like, dude, I swear to God, if I get that phone call that somebody's in the house and I have to fucking speed racer it over here and it's too late, because I want to kick a motherfucker's ass. Right. but it's just, obviously it's for the safety as well. Like that is the key thing. And like, it makes me feel better that you did get a couple extra things. We are getting some things as well. You know, we do have the kids, Meg is also there sometimes by herself, so there's just a lot at play with this, other realmly worlds and real things and who we quote are. And because guys, we are not, all this being said, we are not super famous. No. We have a small blip in this thing that's called YouTube and a little bit of quote fame, I guess you could say. It is this big, but it still happens. Yeah. We're still in that blip. And so that's what I'm actually really coming to, like, the realization lately, probably over the last like even 6 months. And that's what I've been saying before. I'm like, we need security. Yeah. So it's just, dude, this has been fucking wild.
Well, I think that if you guys can take anything away from the situation, is that number one, nothing bad has happened. No. As far as like, nobody has been hurt, nothing's been stolen, there's not been threats, there's not been anything like that. No. Like, there's not been full bodied apparitions I can see. I've not been pushed. I've not been slapped, all those things. But I know that my knee-jerk response when, after seeing the basement door, my mentality was, no, I'm like, I need to be safer. Correct. Like whatever that means, whatever that is, whatever I can afford, what I can do, because I know there's people out there that, they'll probably hear this entire thing and go, all right, well, I'm going to go buy, a bunch of, Ring cameras and I'm going to send them around my house and do this stuff. It's like, well, not everybody has that.
Yeah.
I understand that I'm in a very, very fortunate situation that I can just go get one and be like, no, I'm going to install this tonight and do it. Regardless, it's one of those things that just be as safe as you can. And it all comes back to this Reddit post that I saw that like, it's one of my favorite parts of Reddit is where it will ask a question that is very like taboo. So it could be like, oh, like sexual, like this, or like, what did you do with your partner that nobody else did? Or like, or inmates, what really happens in solitary confinement? Or like, these like kind of like questions that like, oh, like I didn't really think about that, but yeah, like, what is it like? And the one that got me was that it was, I'm probably going to butcher how it was said, but it basically was saying burglars and those that broke into homes, and those that have changed their ways. What are some things that, people can do to prevent people from getting into their homes? Like what would have deterred you in your life of crime until you changed your ways? And I'll never forget it. This guy was top comment. He's like, for the love of God, lock your doors and lock your windows. He's like, the majority of people that have break-ins and things is because they don't secure their palace. And he's like, that's how I always got in. He's like, I don't want to cause damage and make noise. You know, he's like, I'm going to go into your house and steal your TV and you're not going to know it.
Correct. So you don't want to break a window.
Right. And it's so now, unless if it's like a Harry and Marv situation where it's like, no, they've seen like, oh, the McAllisters are going to be out like for 3 weeks in Paris. Like, then you can do whatever the fuck you want.
That's why I said something about like maybe casing the place. Like now I'm gone. It's been a month. Like you don't know, man.
Right. And I think that it's one of those that like, there are many different areas that I check in the house. And I did even before this, where it was like, I would go through, if I was here by myself, I would check all the bedrooms. They're studios, but I would check all the studios. And, I would, even like take a peek on the back deck, make sure that that's good. Like, like I'm trying to get myself more in the habit of making sure I turn on the motion light that way. Cause like that thing will, even if snow falls, it will initiate it, so it's like, it's just anything that can be done to be able to deter anybody or make me as prepared as possible. That's what I've really been trying to do. And that's what I want anybody in our audience to do, because your well-being, your, mental health, everything is way too damn important for somebody to be able to take advantage of you in that way, because it is such a simple thing. Be conscious, and we are very lucky. I am very lucky that, what happened was minor. Is it scary? 100%. But somebody could have been up in the living room when I came home on lunch, and I like, what would I have done?
Correct.
Because I wasn't expecting anything. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go eat and watch YouTube, like, and do my thing for an hour because that's my lunch. It's like, no, like that changes the entire dynamic. And I'm very thankful, and I've been like, I've been trying to, get myself in the mentality of like, no, dude, thank God. Like not even just that phrase, thinking, like literally thank God that this did not happen.
Yeah.
Because this could have been a lot worse. And, I don't know what will happen in the future. I don't know how, things will get resolved, or if anything will even never happen again. But I do know for a fact that I am prepared. I'm as prepared as I can be.
I know that's
what makes me feel better.
We actually sound like really paranoid on this episode, which is kind of funny because we really aren't, guys. Like,
if
we're
anything,
really
I'm
not
more paranoid, but yeah. So
sure, but even at that, like to this extent of like what we were talking about and the things we were talking about were like, it sounds like somebody that's just paranoid all the time, but like these things legit did happen, and the fact that they were happening so close in an event, the thing, like I said, not to stay on it all night, but the fact that Crystal heard it through the phone.
Yeah. That was the thing that actually made my stomach drop, because it was
same.
It was the fact
that's why I was like, it's not just you, man.
Because a part of me was like, I almost was going to be like, no, I'm fine. Like, because I wasn't going to acknowledge it. But she was like, the fact that she was like, what the fuck was that? So yeah.
So that's, like I said, that this is just like, it is not to be paranoid. Like, this has been pretty crazy the last couple of days. So yeah, basically I'm assuming to end the night, like guys, like he said, dude, just be careful. No matter if you are on YouTube or not. I see so many things on the TikToks and the Instagrams and all this stuff about the things that people do for, abducting people in parking lots, and how they prey on people and what they look for and all of this stuff. So it's like, dude, it is everywhere, and it does not matter just because you do not think it'll happen in your town or your neighborhood or whatever it is. yeah, like this is just, guys, this has been a real eye opener for the both of us.
For sure.
And it's just, I think now more so than ever, like we just, like he said, we have to pay attention.
Yeah.
So, and just be prepared.
Well, usually I give you the
last but that was pretty much just stay safe.
Well, it's usually I give you the last word of the podcast of like, what do you want to tell the audience? But dude,
that's it.
I think that nails it. So guys, until next week, take care of yourselves, be safe. And I promise next week's episode will be, assuming nothing else happens, will be much more upbeat. We'll turn on, the cameras and just kind of just have a conversation. But we needed to talk about this like for many different reasons. So, but
next week it'll just be on camera. Kyle's dead.
Yeah. Well, now I have to survive. So like, I don't want that to happen. No, but no, I feel very fortunate that everything has happened the way that it has, even though it has been scary. But either way, guys, thank you for listening this far. If you have, comment below if you want to tell us anything that you want us to talk about, or if you have any questions about it, we'd love to talk to you. I check all the comments, and yeah, we will catch you guys next week. Adios.